This is one of these questions that everyone got asked before. What 5 things would you take to a deserted island? Obviously, that's an even harder question than the one I'm asking myself today, but I would probably pick something like a toothbrush, my favorite toothpaste, an anal vibrator that works with solar energy so I just have to leave it out in the nice tropical sun for a recharge, a box of my favorite cereal, and some milk, even though I'm lactose intolerant. But that's not the point of this video. Here I want to talk about the 5 video games I would take with me to a lonely deserted island while hoping I would get rescued eventually, hopefully. Let's also put 2 rules into place: no mods allowed and no online multiplayer games, obviously. I can't think of any other rules because I'm not really smart, so I'm probably forgetting some loophole here that you can abuse. If you want to leave me with your own list in the comments below. Please show me how dumb I am. Also, I would expect a lot of Minecraft mentions, but I have to spoil you, that's not one of my picks. I'm not creative enough and would eventually get bored of it really fast, because I can only build ugly houses, regardless of how much time I would put in there. I'm not an architect, I have to say it. In general, creative games where you can build stuff or high score games where you just want to get a higher score are probably better picks than story driven games that you beat and then, it's kinda over. Unless you really love to replay one specific game. Or give yourself challenge ones, like all those different kind of Nuzlocke challenges you can do in Pokemon games or in Souls games, beat the game with level 1. But for me, my first game would be The Binding of Isaac. It has so much content, especially since I'm not even that deep into it. I only got around 200 hours so far and haven't even seen most of the things that came with the newer add-ons. For people who don't know Isaac, it's a roguelike. You shoot tears or many other things depending on which character you pick and have to kill tons of enemies, and it has some of the most annoying enemies of all time in video games for me. I hate around 50% of the enemies in this game, but in a nice way, also in a bad way. And you go through randomly generated rooms till you meet the boss of each floor and delve deeper after beating them on your way to the final boss, and there's lots of final bosses depending on which way and which items you pick up on your way to there. There's so many mechanics and secrets in this game that it's impossible to really explain it in so little words, and that's why I would take it with me. There's just so much content. But that also comes with a bad aspect because I introduced the no mods aspect. I played with the item descriptions mod that tells me what each item does before picking it up, which is the most useful mod for this game since some of the items are actually freaking terrible and make it harder for you. So most new players will just pick up everything they see and get hurt by it basically, which can be frustrating at times, but with so much newly added free time I could finally try to remember all the items without the mod, and there's way too many. Another bad thing is also that many things in this game are really cryptic and without a guide almost impossible to figure it out. There's one character where you have to kill the first boss in under a minute and then go back and drop a bomb, and when you use the bomb in a specific room it drops a shovel, and now with the shovel you have to go to another specific room towards the end of your run, which is hard to do since there's always 2 feet following you and trying to kill you on your way to there, and yeah. I would never figure this out on my own even with all the free time. It's my favorite roguelike and no other can fill this specific niche for me where I can do some crazy item combinations. I hope one day there will be an Isaac 2, maybe, hopefully. Please do it for me. I just want Isaac 2, please. Trackmania on the Wii. It's either this or Trackmania United Forever, the 2 best Trackmania games for me. I fell in love with Trackmania when I bought the first game of it on the PC randomly when checking out cheap PC games at the supermarket back in the day. Laying around in one of those cheap game pyramid things where 90% of the games were pretty bad and cheap, but you could always find some good ones. I miss buying games at stores sometimes too, even though I don't really, but I do. Through the years, the series kinda lost me with Trackmania 2 and all those stadium games, but lucky for me the old classics are always fun to go back to. Trying to beat the times of the developers and having a bunch of different modes like that platforming one. There's lots of content here, and if you ever want other things to do when getting all the medals, then you can also just make your own tracks, which I love doing. For some reason I love building tracks that would go as long as some of my favorite songs at the time. For example, I built a track that was about 10 minutes long because I love listening to Green Day's Jesus of Suburbia back in the day. To be young again. And here building tracks with the motion controls is even easier, even if it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. Xenoblade 2. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is my favorite game of all time, and now some might wonder, hey, if you pick Xenoblade, why not go with X? And while I love X a lot, I just would really miss the great story and characters of 2. X has a bigger world to explore and leaves more room to try out different builds, but 2 just has a way better overall package for me. I already replayed it like 5 times and just writing this makes me already want to start another one. There's just so much content where you can grind out the affinity charts and looking at the beautiful world the game has to offer. Even the gacha system wouldn't seem so bad anymore when I can just mindlessly grind core crystals to eventually get cosmos, since I have nothing better to do anyways. I needed like 300 hours to get 100% in it when I did a 100% playthrough, and I used the wiki and stuff to see where specific enemies and items spawn to get my affinity charts up. Without a wiki it would take me even longer. And when picking Xenoblade 2, you basically get 2 games, since you would also get the Torn expansion. There's even challenge ones you could try, like only using common blades or even a Nuzlocke kinda one, where if you die you release all the blades you used in the fight. Also thanks to the great character designs, I would also not have to pick any hentai games on my list either. Puchi Karat. I know, you're asking yourself, what's that? And it is exactly what it looks like basically. It's Breakout but with anime characters. You know, that game where you control the little thing at the bottom of the screen and have to break things to the top. But here you play it against other people basically. Every time you get a nice combo you send gems over to the other player, etc. Pretty easy to understand and I just love this game. The aesthetic is just so cute and it's one of those feel good games I can always play sometimes to forget about life for a moment. It has a bunch of different game modes too, like an endless mode where it just gets faster and faster and you have to keep up. There's not really much else to say, except that I would recommend this to everyone who wants to have a fun time, even like Breakout I guess. I wish I could break out of the cycle that we call life too sometimes. Pro Evolution Soccer 5. You wouldn't expect a nerd like me to like football, but I have to say I hecking love football. And it's the best football game ever made. It was the game that also killed my PlayStation 2, or well, it was basically me, when I played it online in a tournament on a forum and was up 3-0 and still ended up losing 3-4. And I gave my fat PlayStation 2 a little push with one of my tiny little feet and it fell over. Yeah, I had it standing upright. I know most people didn't do that, but I did. And I regret it. And then it never read discs again after I gave it a little push with my feet. I learned to keep my anger under control at a young age through such a disaster moment for me. I never even told my parents about it either. They were probably surprised why I was only playing on a little purple cube anymore and not on my PlayStation anymore. But anyways, it's just so much fun to start the Master League with such a trashy team that would barely be able to beat a team full of kids and edge out a few draws or even some wins here and there, so you can buy some actual players in the transfer window when it opens. And you know, mostly you buy some young unproven talent and see where it can lead you. After a few seasons you won everything there is and then you just start again, and again, and again, and maybe even again. 2 honorable mentions I have are Tetris on the DS and Fiazawism Final Bloodline. I can't freaking pronounce the name Fiazawism, I don't know why, but I think I'm doing it okay, I hope. I love those games on the 3DS and now with the newest version on the Switch, I still love it. I kinda miss the touchscreen controls, maybe I should buy a stylus for my Switch to test those out if they exist, I don't know. But they probably do, but it still plays great. With all the season pass content releasing, I would maybe put this into my top 5 instead of Trackmania or Puchi Karat. But luckily for those games, all the season pass stuff still has to release, and I don't think I have to say much about Tetris DS. For me it's the best version of Tetris and everyone knows Tetris. And also there's Animal Crossing New Leaf, just to play it a bit every day and feel like I'm actually interacting with real people, even when I'm just talking to a fictional Egyptian cat girl. So there we have it, my top 5. And the 3 other games that could have easily made my list too. It's really hard to decide these kind of things, but let's be honest here, if I were actually on a deserted island, I would have worse things to worry about than video games and which ones to pick. But maybe some cute animals can adopt me and raise me, despite me being an adult already. Well, let's just stop before this gets too weird, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can give this video a like if you want to, but only if you really want to, no pressure. Nobody likes pressure. People nowadays don't even like those hydraulic press videos anymore. No, anyways, have a good one.